distance in the light, vibration of a thundercloud.
Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and this is the My Sober Addiction podcast. I'm just kind of going to freestyle one, I think, as this rainy, almost stormy Sunday afternoon here in central Kentucky. Anyway, we are happy, healthy, wealthy, and free, as always. What I mean by almost stormy, and the lovely Kitty and I have discussed this. Apparently, there are a lot of prayer warriors here where I live, and they pray away the severe weather. Well, Maddie has a problem with that because I like severe weather. I like those big thunderstorms that are, shake the house, right? I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want there to be any property damage and all that good stuff. Please understand. It's just, I do enjoy a good thunderstorm, and I'm not unique in that. A lot of people do, right? So I'm like, hey, prayer warriors, back off a little bit. All right. Jeez. I mean, we can have a thunderstorm. We don't have to have, it doesn't have to be anything incredibly severe. No, I don't want hail to beat the crap out of my car. And I certainly don't want tornadoes to wreak havoc on my neighbors. But a nice thunderstorm is good, right? I think I'm not alone in this. Anyway, on YouTube Shorts recently, I heard a clip of Dolores Cannon. Now, I'm not as woo-woo as that, but I can appreciate some of the things that Dolores Cannon has to say. And I don't agree with a lot of the premise of this, but just bear with me. She says that in the universe, there are lots of souls, beings, immortal beings, that are having experiences on this planet or that planet or whatever. And that's the part that I'm kind of like, I don't know. We'll see about that part, but whatever. She says that to incarnate on Earth is like an incredible feat. In other words, it's the most challenging place. This construct that we have found ourselves in is incredibly challenging. And that I definitely agree with. And I can see that, meaning if you accept the challenge to come here to Earth or whatever, however you want to call it, you have taken on a pretty big thing. And that gets me to thinking about the diversity of everything in this realm that we live in. Because the Earth is not that big, really, compared to a lot of other planets out there. So if you think of the extremes from the Arctic or the Antarctic, whichever, and not that terribly far away on the cosmic scale is like the Serengeti Desert or the Mojave Desert or whatever. There's so many extremes from mountains to deep under the water in the Marianas Trench and things like that. The extremes of environments on this one place it's amazing. Then we look at how life has found ways to survive through that. They have found life in the volcanic vents that way down at the bottom of the ocean where the water is practically boiling and it's sulfuric and just it's an extreme environment. And then they have also found life surviving deep in the ice. There's lakes under the Antarctica that's under like a mile of ice. Granted, microorganisms or whatever, but they have found life in those environments as well. And it is really amazing to see how many extremes we can have here. And that's just like the geographical and the climate kind of extremes that we experience here. We also experience a lot of extremes as far as just sheer beauty, and then love and hatred and terror. For example, if you are towards the bottom of the food chain, there can be some pretty horrific moments, probably towards at the end of your life. For example, the rabbit being chased and eventually captured and ripped apart by a pack of wolves. That would be extremely horrific. But on the flip side of that, we have extreme beauty, like a caterpillar coming out of its cocoon in the form of a beautiful butterfly. I mean, there are so many extremes, from the darkest, most horrific and challenging of things to the most beautiful and loving and miraculous. So there are so many extremes in this environment that we are in, that the amount of experience that you as an immortal soul are able to gain just from this short 80 years, 100 years, whatever you consider a lifetime. But this short amount of time that you're here, the amount of experience that you're able to gain is amazing. And I haven't even gotten into the levels of relationships and the life that you can create, be it good, bad, up, down, whatever. There are so many extremes that it is rather amazing that we are here. And it makes me want to appreciate that, because a lot of people's response to that thing with Dolores Cannon is, well, I must have been drunk, or I must have been high, or whatever, if I chose to come to this world or whatever. I'm like, well, as bad as it can be, and as negative as things can be, they can also be equally as beautiful. Also, the amount that we are able to learn in such a short amount of time on the cosmic scale is amazing. In one short lifetime, we can learn to manifest things out of nothing. From where I read the Kybalion, that is kind of becoming more apparent to me, because in the Kybalion, it says that the universe is mental. It is a mental creation of the all, or your higher power, or God, whatever you want to call it. And it exists inside the mind of this all. If we're going off Hermetic philosophy, we accept the fact that everything exists in the mind of God. But while we're here, while we are in this incarnation, while we are existing inside this mind, it's great to know, well, the universe is all mental. It's all in the imagination of the Creator. But we cannot get bogged down by that. See, I make jokes and stuff, like if somebody's talking about something environmental or whatever, I'm like, it doesn't matter. None of this is real anyway. I am joking when I say that. I would never suggest someone go out and pollute the environment, because we do have to live here, right? But I accept the fact that where we are is in the mind of the Creator. But while we are here, this is reality for us. So we have to learn to appreciate it. So those people in the comments on that video from Dolores Cannon saying, I hate this place, I don't belong here, things like that, I'm like, you're kind of missing the point. You're here for a reason. Why are we here? That's a great question. That's probably something that each of us has to answer for ourselves and to ourselves. I believe that we are here to learn to be creators. Maybe this is the final test. Maybe this is whatever, that I don't know. But I do know that being in an environment of such extremes, it really puts it to us. It really puts us through it. But when we come out on the other side, I got to believe that provided we did the things necessary, develop ourselves, figure out who we are spiritually, I got to believe that when we come out on the other side, we are going to be so well advanced than where we were when we first came in here, that maybe that is setting us up for something else after this lifetime. That I'm not going to get into. I don't know. But what I do know is that we're not here for no good reason. We are here for a absolute reason. To say I don't belong here, to say I hate this place or whatever, I think those people are missing the point. I think we need to say, okay, this place is very harsh. It's very extreme. But then when we look at the polarity of it, it's like, yeah, but as harsh as it is, it's also as soft. Just like the extremes in temperatures, because there's extremes in every way. You have the Antarctic, and then you also have the Serengeti Desert. And then in the deserts, you have those extremes just from day to night. We also see the extremes with creation and destruction. Kind of like how I started out with talking about how I'd love to see a great thunderstorm today. It's a stormy day outside, kinda. It's been raining. and I can hear thunder off in the distance, it's like, oh, good, it just went right around us. But we have seen destructive power from nature. But at the same time, we've also seen beauty in nature. And in a way, that destructive power is very beautiful also. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking about, is those extremes that we experience in this lifetime. And yeah, I'm kind of doing a little one-off, a little bit of a just freestyling, I guess, here. And I usually go on YouTube and do those. So like my YouTube videos are usually just me. Usually it's something I had a thought, like here's how a lot of times it happens. A lot of times I'll be editing the podcast and I will hear where I made a point, but then it occurs to me, wow, I really could have expanded on that a little more. So a lot of times then I will stop editing, flip on the video, record that thought that I wish I'd put in the podcast, and now it's on YouTube. And I realized, yeah, well, you could put it in the audio podcast too. Yeah, I could have, but I didn't. So there you go. Anyway, loved ones, I am reading Stalking the Wild Pendulum by Itzhak Bentov, and it is blowing my mind. The thing about it is Itzhak Bentov, he's not with us anymore, but that's what his people who loved him referred to him as Ben. So it says pretty much in the introduction that if you're not really sciencey, then you're going to have to bear with me through the first 4 chapters. Sorry about your luck. It was a little bit of a struggle to get through the first 4 chapters, and I am now moving on into the 5th, but I could see it kind of gives you little glimpses as to where is this going with the sciencey stuff. So it kind of keeps you there, kind of keeps you with them. It's talking a lot about vibration and how everything you do, from your breath to the movement of a hand, influences the environment around you, because there is no empty space. There is no vacuum. So anytime you move something, anytime you have a thought, it does send out a vibration, as subtle as it may be, very subtle. It's not like I can move my hand and you're in a direction of you and you're going to feel, well, if I were to move it fast enough, you'd feel the pressure from the air that I am moving coming towards you. But usually it's a lot more subtle than that. So you're not going to feel it. But the point is, as we learned in the Kabbalion, everything does have an equal and opposite reaction. And he refers to the pendulum swing a lot, and in how the pendulum, when it swings as it's swinging, it's in motion. But when it reaches the top of its arc, before it begins to swing back the other way, it is at a point it is a very split second at a moment of rest, where it does stop, where it stops moving in one direction and begins moving back in the other direction. There is a split second there of no motion, no velocity. And at that point, there really is no time. I'm going to have to get more into that later after I get more into this book. I do understand what he's saying with that, but now how it relates to us as far as spirituality is concerned, well, bear with me. Just give me a week or two. I'll be back with you on it. Of course, it's not the type of book you just fly through and read, not if you really want to understand it. It's a type of book, kind of like the Kabbalion. Could you breeze through the Kabbalion in an afternoon? Yeah, you could, but you probably wouldn't gain much knowledge from it. So anyway, loved ones, it seems as if the message kind of how I was talking about in the last episode, of how your own story is extremely inspirational, in that a lot of people look outside themselves for inspiration. A lot of people will, and I think it's great to go to meetings or whatever, and for someone to give a lead and to listen to their inspirational story. But my point is, any one of you could go and give a lead, and it'd be very inspirational. Because usually what you see when that happens is somebody will give a lead, and then other people will come up to them after the fact and be like, wow, that's amazing. Your story is so inspirational. And they had no idea. They never realized. Huh, really? Well, thanks. I'm glad you think so, or whatever. But it never occurred to that person that their story could be inspirational. And that's true for anybody. It is good to listen to other people's stories. I think mostly just so that we can realize we're not alone in this. We're not alone in our sobriety. We're not alone every single day of our lives choosing sobriety. Earlier on, it does feel a lot more alone, and you do feel like nobody understands, and you think, gosh, if I'm going to have to do this every day for the rest of my life, what's the point? But we find out pretty quick that every day it gets a little bit easier. It never goes away, but it does get much, much, much easier. I mean, at this point in my sobriety, I'm not going to let my guard down enough to say that I don't have to worry about anything, because I feel like that's a dangerous place to be. That's almost like saying you're not an addict anymore. Just because someone is not actively using drugs currently does not mean that they don't have that tendency, does not mean that they're not wired to be an addict. There's other ways to tell if someone's an addict or not, right? We've seen people be hook, line, and sinker fully addicted to video games, correct? I mean, we just have. And then if you go like on Apple Podcast or whatever, and you just type in the word addiction to try to find a podcast to listen to, it's amazing how many porn addiction shows there are out there. I never realized it was that big of an issue, but apparently it is. And then gambling addiction, I could see that definitely being an issue. But there's a lot of podcasts out there about gambling addictions or about porn addiction and all of that. But see, like to me, in my world, it's like, I thought pretty much the only addictions there was really drugs. But that's just my thoughts. I never really thought about those other ones as really being an addiction. But I mean, yeah, it is. So we have those addictive tendencies, and we can't let our guard down and think, I got it licked. I've got 8 years clean time under my belt. I've got 10 years clean time, whatever. I'm good. Because when we think that, and we should be proud of our time, please understand. I'm not saying that. Our clean time, be absolutely proud of it. In fact, be so proud of it that you are guarding that clean time. Because I've even heard of some people who were tempted to use, but they're like, no, man, because I don't want to have to reset the clock. And maybe that's the wrong reason to not use. Maybe your reason should be because I don't want to. I'm not going to do that. It's bad for my health or whatever. But then there's other times it's like, it doesn't matter. All that really matters is the fact that you didn't do it. Because I can honestly tell you, there were times early on in my sobriety that the only thing that kept me from using was the fear of going to jail and detoxing in jail. Because I've done that more than once. And it sucks. God, it's awful. And yes, I can honestly tell you that early on in my sobriety, the only thing that kept me from relapsing, probably just once or twice, but whatever. The only thing that kept me from relapsing was the fear of going to jail and then detoxing in jail. Whatever it takes, whatever we want to guard your clean time. We just can't let it go that you say, I'm not an addict anymore. Because to say that would basically be giving yourself permission to do things that you know you can't do. So anyway, I know I've kind of got all over the place here, but like I said, I was just kind of freestyling. I have no outline for this. I did want to mention that Dolores Cannon video. And the thing is, it's not really so much as what she said as far as there are so many souls in the universe that are just would beg, borrow, and steal to get an incarnation on this planet. Whatever, that's all fine. The part that really, I guess, triggered me, for lack of a better term, was the people in the comments. They're talking about how much they hate it here, and I can't believe I would choose this as a place to incarnate, or this lifetime, or this whatever. Well, whether you chose it or not, you are here for a reason. So we should be looking for that. We should be trying to gain the experience that we have come here to gain. Because we're here. There's no doubt. And we've had some, especially those, well, I'm not going to say that, especially us addicts, because that makes us different than anyone else. Everybody's had their challenges. But were we able to overcome it? And then in turn, what did we learn from it? I would say that most of us have grown a lot so far in our lifetime here. So far in our lifetime, we have grown so much. We have learned so much. We've gained so much experience. We have seen so many things, from the extremes in climate to the extremes in nature, from the cruelty of a hunter versus prey type of thing to the beauty of a butterfly coming out of the chrysalis or whatever it is. Yeah, that. And then from the extremes of relationships, right? We've all seen some very hateful things happen, right? We've all experienced very, things that are not good. We've all experienced evil, but we've also experienced grace and love and kindness. And then a lot of times from strangers. But I guess maybe that's yet another layer to this. Because some of the most evil things people have seen are from people that they're closest to. And then on the flip side of that, some of the kindest things they have seen are from complete strangers. And those are kind of that's an extreme built into an extreme. So I just want to encourage you to embrace your life, embrace your story, embrace everything about this, because life is beautiful. Thank you, Nikki Sixx. But you can't see the beauty without the ugly, right? In order to experience beauty, you also must experience ugliness. Otherwise, you don't have anything to compare it to, so you don't know what it is. This life has a crap ton of extremes built into it. And here we are. We're learning. And it's great. It's beautiful. We're really doing it. And hopefully we can help bring someone else along with us. That's why I would love to hear stories about you going out and telling your story and inspiring someone else. Go out and inspire someone. Or inspire yourself. Like I've said, your own story is inspirational. It really is. And any of you that have gone to meetings at AA or whatever, all of you can have seen someone give a lead. And then someone, maybe you or someone else, tell that person, wow, that was amazing. And then you see the surprise on their face. Really? Wow, okay, thank you. It had never occurred to them that their story was inspiring, but it was. And you're no different. So that gives you something to hang your hat on, something to be proud of. And it gives you an example of your momentum, your forward progress, your momentum, that how bad it can be, how bad it is when we're down there at rock bottom, another extreme, right? Addiction has taken us so low. And then when we get sober, we come like a rocket flying up out of there with a huge amount of momentum pushing us forward. That's why I say we take that momentum, take advantage of the fact that we have all this momentum built up, instant momentum, and use that to make something amazing out of our lives. Go out and start a business, do something, whatever it is that you're inspired to do. Show the other extreme, the other side of that rock bottom. I guess that's the message of this here podcast that we're doing, is extremes. From one extreme to the other. From one side of the pendulum to the other. From your yin to your yang. Yin, yang, 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 whatever. Anyway, loved ones, I have rambled about a lot longer than I intended to. I really thought this was just going to be a little one-off. But I got inspired by the whole thing of extremes of good and bad, and beauty and ugly, and terror and love. So look me up on YouTube, and you'll see some of my shorter ramblings. Usually I try to keep them around at 10 minutes or so. And also I've got Pee Wee on there, the kitty's cat. Yeah, I had to do a little intro. I had to do a little video introducing him. You'll see why whenever you see the video. Anyway, also hit me up on the Substack at Matt Stevens on there. I have not written a whole lot on there lately, but it's there. And in fact, I need to put some more on there because I've got some stuff that I have written, but I have not put it on there. So there's that. And there you go, loved ones. I will be back directly.
There is a distance in the